Welcome back. We continue with our discussion. This is politics and the economy. And we know the economic drive of a country must be based on stable politics of the country. For the case of Uganda, we continue to fit in a multi-party democratic process of which we are still trying to see how it can be shaped best. And tonight, as we come to the conclusion of our program, not yet of now, we are looking at a number of issues raised, especially in the previous session. Thank you so much, Honorable Dennis Onekaritamele, for your consistency in making the submissions that are intending to give the alternative. And to the viewers and listeners, I'm also honest enough on behalf of the television to ensure that I portray the picture of the status quo, the ruling party, what it says. That is my role, and I do that with care. We are also now going to another area of discussion, which is to look at the alternative economic policy in the matter of debt management, and also look at the natural resources, especially environmental management, the climate change, and basically the oil and gas, those two areas. And possibly don't forget to tackle the issue of the alternative on unemployment, because the NRM believes that they have created the employment opportunities, and yet the other political parties continue to say no, unemployment is an issue, and which we all know. But we also be able to look at that. The debt management question, the oil and gas management, and the utilization, then we cannot rule out the issue of unemployment, of which is seeing an influx of many youth, our generation, for export labor and human trafficking to the Asian countries, a situation which I think, and it's the right thinking Ugandan, we cannot easily appreciate and say it's okay. Then from there we'll be looking at also, please take into consideration the political alliances, whether they have a lot to contribute in the democratic governance and economic stabilities. We're able to have the alliances, a number of alliances by the opposition, and of recent now, the NRM also has begun to do their own covert alliances, UPC, DP, and so forth. But let's start from where you feel fit, but we'll end up with that, and then we'll close the program. It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother, Dr. Joseph. The level of indebtedness that this country is going through is wanting. For the last consecutive 4 years, the level of borrowing has been climbing the ladder, has been increasingly high, has been increasing high, actually year by year.
Understand now we're at 4 trillion Uganda shillings, and also, one second, the parliament, it normally approves these debts, acquisition of debts, and also the approval of supplementary budgets. We can go on.
You see, that is where the problem comes. The level of borrowing is climbing. Year after year, it's going up. At the moment as I talk, the debt ratio, we are now reaching at the red light, about 52%, the level of borrowing.
And we're supposed to be at 50, threshold.
At 50. And when you look at all this, one would ask himself, what method will the government employ to ensure that we curb down borrowing? If we don't think about that, then this country will be mortgaged.
Does borrowing affect the common person? Because someone, when he is in your deepest village, you say, but they are borrowing money to build hospitals, they are borrowing money to build infrastructure. Does it affect the common person?
The level of debts that we have in this country will take 2 generations to pay. My children and the children of my children will be paying that money.
Unless if we are forgiven.
So the level of debts that this country has is high. Dr. Joseph, we have been coming a lot of proposals
Yes, sir.
on how best we can actually revive this economy. We came at the proposal that let us reduce on the level of tax holidays. For any international investor to come in Uganda, that investor should be having the capacity to invest. But this investor comes in the country, they're given freedom not to pay taxes. 15 years, 20 years. And within that period, the same investor who is given freedom not to pay taxes comes back and says,
Vinci was given how many years not to pay? You know, he's our latest example.
The same investor comes, even like at Yak Sugar, for us in Acholi there, the same thing. Look at Rocco, the same thing. They're making money from the country.
Local company.
We have given them a lot of finances. Of recent, we were denying giving them money. But how they got the money, the viewers knows. You watch what took place.
In Parliament.
In Parliament.
The eye have it.
Now, the biggest challenge that we have is how we can begin treating these investors. If we stop the issues of tax holidays, we shall support this economy. Because the level of finances being lost through tax holidays is too high. The amount of money yearly that the country loses through freedom to these so-called investors.
What could you propose to be the reasonable time for tax holidays, whether for foreign investors or for domestic investors, according to the proposal?
2 years is enough for a serious investor to stabilize.
Not five, and currently 5-10 years.
10, 15 years, others are even 20.
That's abnormal.
2 years is enough for any investor.
Who is a serious investor?
A serious investor who has come with the heart of investing to help the economy and to help also himself or herself. 2 years is enough for that person to would have recovered and stabilized. But the challenge here, we have investors who come in the country, they are given tax holidays. In addition to that, after 5 years within the tax holidays period, they come and complain, they're making losses, they need some grant and loan from the government to bail them out. We give them money.
And investors give
and they don't pay that money. They don't pay that money. Afterward, after spending that money, you'll find they've closed the business. Now the country is losing. And here we are in the country, we are borrowing money. We borrow, we give to so-called investors who misuse our money and disappear.
What would you propose to the head of state who was as the chairperson of NRM?
Number one, the government should begin identifying the local investors.
Yes.
The indigenous people who has ideas of business, who can do the same production that international investors would come and do. Why wouldn't the government invest in the company brought in by Dr. Joseph to produce soap and sugar, other than giving the money to a foreign investor?
Okay, now...
Who equally does not have the capacity
Yes, sir.
to invest.
Yes, sir.
Now, if the government would shift their attention to begin supporting the local investors, either with a soft loan, which is actually competitive in the market, can help their product to grow, or by giving this same tax holidays to the local investors so that their business thrive. After COVID-19, many indigenous companies close because they cannot sustain the level of expenditure, rent, hiring land, and the cost of raw materials. Many of them close. The striving one are those with the state mercenaries behind, are the ones surviving.
Would you talk about the issue of supplementary budget? Because in all this process, the economic progress is dictated by how resources are allocated. The issue of supplementary budget vis-a-vis also the problem, the challenge of unemployment, which deals with the issues of whether how best the policy to solve unemployment is either accounting for the best.
In this country, supplementary budget normally comes back 3 months after the budget release.
After?
It is lovable. You release the budget, after 3 months, it is supplementary budget. Is
Are they normally justifiable according to you as members of parliament?
misuse of resources. Wasteful allocation of resources
You
is
had
the one
talked
causing the
about it.
problem.
Yeah, you had talked about it.
The other time in Park, I sit in the committee of Park.
Yes, sir.
I pose a question to the Auditor General. I ask, what qualifies a classified expenditure? Classified expenditure, the military expenditure,
It's normally military
Security.
It's a security expenditure.
security expenditure, presidential expenditure, 1 billion a day,
A day,
State House.
1 billion.
Now, you could imagine all this expenditure that goes to one individual person. Presidential expenditure is equivalent to the security expenditure, is equivalent to classified expenditure. Then I ask the Auditor General in the meeting of PAC that where do the corrupt people, the Auditor General in the meeting of PAC, that where do the corrupt people who embezzle classified money prosecuted? Where do you prosecute them from?
Those are embezzled.
Is their prosecution also classified? Because we have never had them being prosecuted.
Those who spend that money.
The classified budget. We give a lot of money in classified budgets and supplementary budgets. But the results are not seen year in, year out. A lot of money goes there. So until when we will realize that these other sectors need to give a breathing space to the economy of this country, we need to relax the level of financing that goes to those sectors, the classified, the supplementary, the security, and all these other things.
There should be an amendment in the Financial Management Act. That's what you are saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
If some of these resources would be reduced, the State House expenditure, whereby our president, when he's traveling to my district, want to move with every convoy, including the toilet and everything in a convoy, as if there's no toilet there where he's going. So if these wasteful expenditures are carved down and the resources are transferred into the right system, say agriculture, that actually require a lot of investment. We say agriculture is a backbone of our economy, but we invest less. According to Mafuta Mingi declaration, Uganda was supposed to invest at least 7%. But here in the country, 10%. Here in the country, we budget actually lower than 7%.
Around 3 now, 4%.
So we don't attach value to what would help reduce the poverty level of the country.
Or do we go now to unemployment? Do we see a headway? Unemployment, we have now youth livelihood program. We have other many programs that the ruling party believes that they are solving unemployment.
Those are coinages of names. Uganda, like one person noted, that we have good policies, but the good policies we have are implemented in other countries. A lot of projects come in the country, but implementation, zero. Corruption does not allow all those. Doctor, at the moment in the country, monthly, the level of the young people, the number of young people leaving this country, going to Arab countries, it's 1,200 people monthly leaving the country.
What's the economic effect of that? And what's the proposal to solve it as opposition?
Creation of job. Invest in the right sector. That would help to bolster the economy right from the grassroots. We need to create the mechanism of bottom-top approach, of helping the vulnerable person in the village to understand that there is need to begin to begin engaging in the cottage industry, begin engaging in agriculture, begin opening a small businesses that can help. We lose a lot of young people outside. The people who struggle to look for air ticket will even buy their way to go to Arab countries, to look for job, to look for survival, because the level of unemployment in the country is unmatched. It is too high. These same people goes there, and daily we have reports of people who has died, who have been mistreated.
We are losing the human resource.
We are losing human resources.
I understand you.
Energetic people whom the government would have made good use of. The young people at their prime period, that would help to bolster the economy if the right projects are given in their hands.
What are the alternatives of the political parties, other political parties, apart from the ruling party?
The alternative...
What should be done, sort of, that kind of challenge?
Job creation need to be given so that the young people at least lay their hands on jobs. Employment need to be actually out of tribal tendencies. If you're employing a person, do not actually put in the criteria, where do you come from?
Who knows you?
Who knows you, the technical know-how, know who. So that's a challenge. If we can actually streamline employment to be on the basis of quality, not on the basis of the technical know-who, then employment will come.
Meritocracy, yes.
Then many people get job in the correct way. Now, if we can employ the system of actually supporting the young people, the youthful people outside campus to start businesses in a correct way, not the kind of the youth livelihood projects which are actually they bring to the society, and the people who benefit from that youth livelihood projects are children of RDC, children of Chairman LC5 from NRM, children of Chairman NRM. The same like the Operation Wealth Creation. In fact, Operation Wealth Creation has become poverty creation. You ask yourself, who is benefiting from it?
Would like to go to another area of oil and gas. Do you think oil and gas, which is now major, I have heard the opposition, political parties under the covert operation of Red Card talking about oil and gas, and with the concern, and also according to the legislative agenda, the issue of utilizing the oil and petroleum looks to be either not matching at the same way how the NRM ruling party believes that they are controlling the oil and gas very well. What is your take on that, briefly?
Doctor, the oil and gas would be a magic bullet to help this country to reduce the level of debt burdens on Uganda. Oil would bolster the strength of the economy of the country. That is, if the right strategies is deployed.
Is the law favorable? Because it begins with from your side as a member of parliament.
Right now, as we talk, the law,
yes,
the law is favorable. But how the laws are bended is a question that we should talk about.
Okay.
How the contracts are being signed behind the curtain without the approval of the parliament, without the approval of this country. It is one thing that this country must take interest on. You find the president saying, don't disturb my oil, that it is my oil. Yes, it is true, looking at how it is being managed. But otherwise, if the oil and gas section, the sector of oil and gas, if it is managed well, if it is put a deliberate attempt to control the outflow, not selling in crude, giving the right contract out, so that when you begin drilling our oil, the proceeds comes and benefit the country. Well.
And the offer of jobs is transparent.
Employment, ratio, the transparency in employment in that sector of oil and gas. If we streamline all those sectors, then oil and gas will be a magic bullet for this country.
Thank you
Will
so
help
much. We are
this
going.
country.
We are going to be concluding, and I would like to see your last commentary and opinion in looking at the side of the NRM. They are believing in allying with some political parties, especially the old political parties, to work together with them for economic progress. The side of the opposition, they are also believing to work together. I do recall the Forum for Democratic Change and the GEMA, then also PP, the People's Progressive Party, and of recent, and as I said, there was an understanding also of the NUP to be on the same platform. And on the side of the NRM, they have the UPC and the DP of recent. What is your outstanding comment in perspective to those alliances, whether they have a lot to contribute to democracy and economic stability? In 2 minutes as we wind up.
I have lost faith on an alliance. I have totally lost faith in an alliance. My experience tells that there are a lot of cartels political parties in this country. There are a lot of cocoons political parties in this country. Out of the registered 26 political parties that I know, according to the Electoral Commission, in the past election that were declared, not more than 3 are real.
Not more than 3. Out of, that's a serious, out of 26.
Out of 26, not more than 3 are real. The rest are concoction by the sitting government to bring them on board, to legalize, legitimize their stay in power, to use them as a conduit of alternative political parties, attempting to compete against the sitting government, so that it legalizes their staying in power. That is exactly what I've been saying.
Then what do you comment on
Look
these
at
others?
TDA.
Yes, sir.
You and I experienced TDA, how the mess came up.
Understand.
The alliance collapsed.
You had Honorable Mambabas was part of the alliance.
On day one, we saw that the alliance was standing on a slippery slopes. It was so slippery.
I recall there was the IGG.
When the Right Honorable Mama Mbabazi was talking
Betty
about...
Kamya, right?
And Betty Kamya, who is now,
The
of course, all of it. When the Right Honorable Mama Mbabazi was talking about NRM go forward, and for us in FDC, we were saying, yes, we can have an alliance with you as they go forward, but provided you have clearly declared that you are no longer in NRM. When I was saying NRM go forward, meaning his intention was to progress NRM, go forward, which for us in FDC we objected. And we organized ourselves, we went and actually pulled out Dr. Besigye from that kind of meeting. And what was the end result? Where are the members of the alliance who were on the other side?
Conclude with the current trend.
We don't have any now. They have gone.
Conclude with the current trend. The side of NRM, which has DP, UPC on board, and also the side of the FDC, which has GEMA, PPP. How will that affect our democratic processes and economy?
There was a period, Museveni made a statement that UPC cannot survive without NRM.
Okay.
And I think the same statement was made on DP.
Okay.
It would be improper for me to talk about these other political parties.
Okay.
But that kind of statement clearly tells you that indeed there under earth movement being actually planted in all these other so-called political parties to play the shadow job of the real NRM at play. As FDC, we have done our part. Not all people can trust us. Even Jesus Christ was not trusted. He was even betrayed by his own disciple.
Understand.
So we are not forcing anyone to trust FDC too much, but we are saying we are real. We have been in existence and we shall be there. We shall help the country. We are alternative government in waiting.
Thank you so much. I think all the viewers, you've had the confidence of Honorable Dennis Onekalita Mele is believing that the Forum for Democratic Change as the alternative political party is still firm and they are ready to continue living and aspire for the economic, political, and social progress of this country. And to all other political parties, please, political party participation, multi-party participation, it should be for purpose of creating an environment that favors the citizens, that favors the economic progress of the country. In all these other kind of political science tactics, they should not be at all in favor of the progress of an individual. I do say that, indeed, with an understanding that if all of us will join our views together, we can build this economy as a progressive economy, and we cannot leave out the stakeholders where we are aware that the political parties, different political parties, they play a role in coming up with economic policies which we are analyzing today. Today we're able to be with Honorable Dennis Amele from the Forum for Democratic Change. Another time we'll be able to have other players from other political parties. And the viewers will be the one to judge and say which right direction should we undertake. Just trust us, as Smart 24 TV will bring for you other politicians, and they promise us a better lifestyle. Good night. See you until next time. God bless you.